Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Imatare and today we are doing the 2-hour review for Nine Souls, a relatively recently released Metroidvania Souls-like. It would have been much more recently released if my computer hadn't crashed, but it is what it is. We are going to play and see if whether or not Nine Souls is worth the keep or is it worth the refund. Let's find out in this Sekiro-inspired Metroidvania, shall we? Nine Souls boasts a hand-drawn style of animation that seems to draw inspiration from both feudal Japan and Cyberpunk, and it blends these two exceptionally well. The artwork is very beautiful in the cutscenes and distinct enough in the gameplay as to not be distracting. Enemies are drawn in this same style, and while the basic enemies are very generic as you would expect from a game, which is all they really need to be, the bosses, at least the bosses I have seen, were very distinct. The bosses are a thing to behold. They are giant mechanical monstrosities. The artwork is very charming and unique, a beautiful blend of ancient feudal Japan and futuristic cyberpunk. One thing to note about the artwork is that the game markets itself as having mature content description for blood and gore, and in the opening cutscene you see some gore. You see basically the main character's guts and brains almost falling out of its body. If you have a weak stomach, I would not suggest you buy this game. If, however, blood and gore does not bother you, let's keep on going with the review, shall we? The story of Nine Souls is such that the world is a very basic feudal style Japan, which worships at this very strange altar for these nine souls. Every 2 years or so, a lottery or so is raffled for members of the tribe to be lifted and taken to the heavens. But what they don't know is that they're actually being gruesomely murdered and probably harvested for parts. And Yi is trying to put a stop to this, and he goes into the underground temple and is trying to defeat the Nine Souls. It is somewhat implied that he is a soul himself, though only 2 hours in, a lot of it exploration. I can't comment too much on it. Also, we have seen a flashback of him and his sister where he's saying he is going to try to save the world and make it into a better place, and even restore some old technology that has fallen to the wayside because the elders say they're just machines for war. So I'm sure we're going to get to see more of that later as well. It seems to be your basic, I'm here, I'm going to save the day, and I'm going to defeat all the bad guys. Nothing's too special, but I mean, it's a Metroidvania. You don't need something too special. You just need solid gameplay and a plot decent enough to move the story around. And with Nine Souls, you have the thing right there, Nine Souls. You're basically going to have 5 major bosses, which is pretty decent for a Metroidvania. There's a fair bit of characters, even this early in the game, that give you background into the lore of the temple. So basically, gameplay, the thing everyone's worried about. It is your classic Metroidvania. You have an expansive map that you go down and around exploring new areas. There are locked off areas which inevitably you will find some upgrades that allow you to bypass them as a typical Metroidvania. It is a hack and slash type. You have to get in close to the enemies and slash them with your blade. You have a dodge. The dodge is limited to about a 1 second cooldown. The main focus of the game, as referenced by the store page, is it is a Sekiro style. You are meant to parry almost everything in the game. As you might expect, parrying is a little tighter than blocking or dodging would normally be. And yeah, the game pulls no punches. It's a hard game. It's this early, and it is probably going to be an even harder game still as you progress. That being said, when you eventually get the pattern down, when you get the hits right, when you finally learn the patterns to parry, 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 it feels so good to do that. But there is a little bit of a learning curve. When I play Souls games, I like a sword and shield. I like to tank and spank. I'm not the best at the parry, and I wasn't the best parried in this one, but it still feels nice. I was still able to beat one of the bosses and the first phase of the first big guy I got, which felt very, very nice. You also have a healing mechanic. You hit up on the D-pad. It's basically your Estus. You have a skill tree, which lets you upgrade your character, which is very nice. You have, when you open the inventory, you have this screen right here. I was never able to unlock anything other than the basics. So, not really sure what else is going to be here, but, I mean, more options is always the better, right? The map is your standard Metroidvania map. The map is pretty big, though. It's so big. There's so much to do. Which, I mean, it really shouldn't be a complaint, but, like, with me, I get lost very easily, and I was getting very lost in the game. A tracker would have been nice, an objective marker would have been nice, but they're going for more hardcore, I think, so I don't think they're going to have an objective tracker unless it's like an upgrade you can get later. That is something to keep in mind. Also something to keep in mind, it did not look like, in some Metroidvanias, when you come to a blocked off port that you know you're going to need an upgrade ability or something to get past, oftentimes they will have a little icon on the map. They'll say, hey, this is this block, and you can't go past it yet, but once you do, I'll look through the map and go and retrace my steps to find all those little markers, so you can know what you can skip and what you haven't skipped yet. This game doesn't do that unless, of course, it's an upgrade later on, which is just going to be a little bit of a truck for people who are trying to 100% the game. Also something to keep in mind. One incredibly great thing about this game is the controls. The controls are completely mappable to your the controls are completely mappable to your gamepad. Don't like the way the controls are? Just rebuy into the way you did. I think the initial setup for the parry system was R1, which, as a lifelong Souls player, that's it's got to be L1 or I'm never getting a parry off the entire game. But you can rebind everything. I wish more games would do that, where you could just change the controls however you like. And this game does that, so it's at least good on that regards. There are, for lack of a better term, bonfires in the game. You have little checkpoints that you can rest and heal and upgrade your skills at. Once you get to a certain point in the game, which I did in under 2 hours, you are able to teleport between bonfire to bonfire, which is good. It limits the backtracking a little once you get to that. So that is the review, the final verdict. This is very dependent. If you like Metroidvanias, if you like hard Metroidvanias, this is definitely a game that's up your alley. If you just want a cute little game, even if you just bang your head at it for a couple of minutes before you put it back on the shelf for a little bit, this is also good. It's very great graphics, great thing. If you're looking for a game, if you like Metroidvanias but you don't want it to be so unforgiving, this is a game you might want to pass up. If you do not like gore in a game, this is a game you should definitely pass up. If you like more modern conveniences early on, such as objective markers, a more intuitive map, you might want to pass this up. But all in all, this is a very good game. I would highly recommend it. It is currently sitting at $30, so a very good indie title price. I would recommend buying this on sale, especially if you can get it for a 50% off. If you can get this for like a 50% off, I think that's a really good price for it. And that is it for the review. Till next time, take care. Bye.